to Real Talk with Joe and Cody. It is what, April 10th, Cody, at noon, just
Close enough.
afternoon. For those of you that don't know, my name is Joe Skipper with the XP Realty. I'm with my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. And again, we are had technical difficulties right beforehand, and I think we did go live for like 4 seconds, and then it cut off. So hopefully it works for the entire time. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'd say that's one of my favorite things about technology is when
Uh,
it doesn't work. We just expect that it's going to work all the time
I know.
and it
Well, and
doesn't. But
especially in like a live sort of thing where we're supposed to like, be there and do
yeah,
that. We can't just like take a cut and do it, but
right.
seems to
But
always
that's the
happen.
beauty of it.
Yeah,
That's why
that's
everybody wants it.
that's why everyone wants to stay tuned and watch and see how we do, how we play this game. But hey man,
Yeah.
so like everything going well with you? How's the mortgage industry? Good?
Yeah. Yeah. Doing good. Get a little bit of a beat down today on rates, just with the inflation data that's came out. Um, it just seems like we're always like, just when it feels like we're starting to get somewhere, it just gets crumbled. So
Really?
yeah, definitely took a hit this morning for rates, but they had improved, a couple of weeks before, and it's just, I mean, if anything, I guess it's just kind of that reoccurring message of the timing. Like timing plays a big part, but it's also just, you just can't time anything. Like
Yeah.
there's no predicting what the rates are going to do, and now it sounds like the market is potentially starting to price in only 2 rate drops this year. Whereas at the beginning of the year, there was talks about like they're going to drop the rate 6 times, and
Mm,
now it's like, okay, maybe we're going to get 2, and that might not be until like tail end of summertime. So I don't know.
mm,
It's the market itself seems to be picking up. There seems to be more activity. There's more going on, but when it comes to the interest rates, I think it's just a lot of the same of unpredictable, and
yeah.
it's not coming down as quick as everybody thought, but it's just kind of the reality of where things are at. And if it makes sense to buy, then now's the right time to buy. If it doesn't, then
Then it's not. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. So it'll just be that way, I guess, forever. It just happens to be that we're in a little more of a more painful time as far
Yeah.
as payments go and price go. But that's just whoa, that just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people that are just kind of coming to grips with just that it is what it is. And so people are starting
Hmm.
to move into the market knowing that things aren't, I think when, like you just said, they were predicting all these things through the year. And so everyone did sit and wait. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'm just going to wait till this time because this is when it's going to hit. This is when the
Yep.
market's going to drop. This is when this is going to happen. And now they're not seeing it. So I think they are kind of getting in if they can get in, but
Hmm.
for some, it's just not a good time and just to wait. But
Yeah.
if they paid attention last week to the 2-1 buy down or the 3-1 buy down, or my reel that I just did yesterday, recapping
Yes.
that, they would know that they can get in for a lesser monthly payment if they can qualify for that loan. So
I think they call that a one-stop shop.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think people are getting creative with different things, and it sucks. Like the market just sucks, but it
Yeah.
is how it's going to be for a little bit. I always thought
Well,
like the presidential election would would make you would think that the incumbent president would be trying to even artificially lower the rates. Like, not
right.
that that's right, but like
Yeah.
you just kind of something that you would think that was common sense or logical. Like,
Right. Which I could see that, still happening
yeah,
before the actual elections.
yeah,
Because if the projected timeline is still kind of end of summer, like
yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
June and July thrown out there quite a bit as the year has slowly gone on and nothing has changed with the inflation and jobs
yeah,
reports and all that stuff. That still seems to be the target, which would kind of make sense, just
yeah.
still a few months before
You're right.
November. But yeah, I really thought that there would be more uh, push for or
Hmm.
trying to change things around, because obviously I know not everything is controlled, but it's mostly controlled. So thought there might be something around there, but I guess
Yeah,
we're
for
still just
sure,
kind of hanging out and waiting.
for sure.
Yeah. What
Well,
about you?
cool.
What's new? I know the NAR stuff is still kind of floating out there. Have you heard anything new about?
No, I like the latest was the DOJ, is now reopening or re-looking into it. But I think the biggest thing is you see, and you've probably seen it, and in my social media world, I see a lot of it
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But it's a lot of clickbait. There is nothing that's decided. Everyone is that you could go on TikTok and find 85 people that have 85 different opinions as to what is happening. And it's
Yeah.
always, and generally, just to get people looking, is the sky's falling and everything is going to change. And it could, but we just
Hmm.
don't know. Like in all this settlement, all this settlement stuff is not even predicted, I think, till June. And so then the
Oh, okay.
DOJ thing, it's like all this stuff is just not, it's all hypothetical. It's all people's guesses. It's all
Mm.
people's, and yeah, we're possibly going to have to pivot and maybe pivot big and pivot
Hmm.
a lot, but you don't know until you know. And so I think that there's a lot of hype out there and a lot of people that are kind of just trying to get the views and trying to get the likes and trying to get the
Hmm.
subscribers, and they're making these, like I said, the sky is falling, like everything's going
Yeah.
to, the world is coming down because of this. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's like, to me,
Hmm.
it's like there's nothing, it's status quo. And um, Washington has been doing something similar. I don't know if you know this, is like for on the real estate side of things, is all the buyers agents agreements and all the things that everyone's like predicting is going to change the world. Well,
Yeah.
Washington's had a law with that forever, that they've had to sign buyers agents agreements with
Oh,
buyers.
okay.
And they did see an initial surge of the sellers that are like, yep, I'm paying 0% to the buyer's agent because I want to save some money. But they
Mm.
said for the most part, it kind of resettled. With anything that happens, you have that initial push of people that are, doing that, and then it kind of resettles. And Washington said for the most part, and this isn't science or any sort of facts, so don't quote me on it, but the people that I've talked to have said pretty much 90 to 95% of people kind of went back into that settlement mode of like,
Mm.
we'll give a concession as a seller. That's just
Sure.
how it is. And so
Yeah.
so
Well,
we'll see.
and it's not something that would ever be admitted or anything, but I think that there's a lot of underestimated value in paying the buyer's agent to bring in buyers,
Hmm.
like as a seller. I
Yeah,
think it's like initially, just like everything, we always want to have things as cheap as possible. So
for
if we
sure.
can cut out a fee here and there, like I see it all the time
Absolutely.
on our side where it's like, hey, what can you cut out here? Can we make this any cheaper? There's a lot of rate matching and fee matching, and it's always, well, not always, but a lot of times it's like, okay, where can I squeeze out an extra penny
For sure.
from? So naturally that makes sense, but I think that, it'll be an interesting time, I guess, to
Yeah,
see if there is anything that comes out of it that, how much longer do things sit on the market
absolutely.
if you're not having buyers because, this market at least doesn't seem like it's a, booming market where there's just way too many shoppers and not enough
Hmm.
homes. I mean, it's kind of the case, but not nearly like it's been in years past where it's still kind of seems to be a little more even match, maybe a little bit more of a buyer's market, but
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
I don't know. I guess like I'm not saying that I'm ignoring what's going on, but it's
Yeah.
and I will pivot my business how we need to pivot. But I've said this before, and this is why agents cannot have nice things, is because it's an easy entry into this market, into this business, and it's hard to stay in. And so what you find,
Hmm.
and I think of a lot of what causes these lawsuits, and a lot of causes what causes these people to not trust agents, is you have shoddy agents that come in, do a poor job. People say, well, what did you do for me? And you did XYZ bad for
Mm.
me. That then in
Hmm.
turn, they do see the commissions and say, why am I paying for something that did not give me the value that I needed? And so that's why I constantly preach that to agents, is you have to provide value.
Hmm.
People are not stupid. They're not going to pay you a commission for doing nothing anymore. And I think that
Sure.
it's a hard part in the industry to get over, because I personally believe, and maybe NAR or anyone else disagrees with me, that it's not a hard industry to get into, whether
Hmm.
you like it or not. And I think that, when the times are good, tons of agents pour in, and then that
Yeah.
I think gives us that stereotype of what people can think of agents, and then think of, well, why do
Sure.
we pay them XYZ? And so I think it's like, if we can provide value, show the value to the client, I don't think they have as much of an issue
Hmm.
um, paying for the services, but we
Hmm.
have to, that's on us to prove it as agents. But now I'm getting
Yeah.
off my soapbox now.
Well, I guess it's like anything else, right? Like if there's a cost with it, the quality agents are going to rise to the top
Yep.
because they're gonna be worth what the fee is.
Yep.
And the ones that aren't, they're either going to have to step up their game, just like in our business or anybody else, anything that is kind of sales related, like you really have to earn that. And it can't just be, sure, there's some markets that are just you jump in and everybody can make a quick buck, but long term, like you really have to do it because you love to do it and
Yeah.
you want to give that experience. Maybe you've been through a bad experience. I've met people. I used to
Yeah.
work with a loan officer that's how she actually got into the business, because she was in the medical field and she was buying a house and it was a terrible experience. And she's like, I could do a
Could do better.
way better job of doing this. So then she got into lending and did that for like 20 years. And
Yeah.
it's just, I think you have to love what you do to really genuinely do a good job. Otherwise, it's just a job, and eventually you just kind of get worn down, and you're
For
like,
sure. For sure.
whatever. But
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see
all
how it
right,
goes. Yeah, I like right now. I kind of like on the back end of the business and stuff is like obviously you prepare as a business owner to be ready for whatever may come, and I stay up to date with it. But
mm-hmm.
I think it's like right now things are status quo. Nothing's changed. Nothing is Oregon is coming out with a law to have a buyer's rep agreement signed, just like Washington does. So that will
Okay,
change. But
yeah,
as to the nitty gritty, it's like we can't get into it until it's all decided. So,
mm-hmm.
anyways,
Yeah,
I try to stay away from the clickbait stuff to get people
yeah.
to get
So
people to
until
watch.
something is decided, it'll just be lots and lots of
Right
opinions.
now, yeah, lots of opinions, as you know.
Yeah,
Speaking of which we'll
yeah.
transition into, is I was talking to you earlier about I see a ton of this stuff on TikToks and Instagrams of people saying, how much do I need to make to afford X
Mm-hmm.
sort of home? So I wanted to tap your brain as of right now and say, like, hey, so what do you need to make as a buyer here in Oregon, Washington, wherever, to afford a home at say $750,000?
Yeah, so I worked up a couple different scenarios just to kind of give some ideas here, and this is a very basic level of it, but just
Yeah.
to kind of get an understanding of what it would be. So at a $750,000 purchase price, putting down 5%, so kind of minimum down payment there, and this is assuming you don't have any debts, which
It's
by
rare.
no debts I mean no credit cards, no
Yeah.
car loans, no student loans, stuff like that. You're
Yeah.
obviously going to have your reoccurring bills, but no debts, right? Which is never happens. But say you did, right? Your total payment on that at 5% down is going to be roughly $6,690 a month. That's
Mm,
with your principal and interest, taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance.
crazy.
So if you think of it in a very basic way of most loan programs, the debt to income limit is 50%. So, like the very, very simple way to think about how much you need to qualify for is take your income and divide it by two. And then whatever that number is, that is the absolute maximum that your mortgage payment's going to be. And again, that's with no debt. So, in this
Hmm.
case, with that scenario, you need to make $14,000 a month or $168,000 a year to afford that scenario. So that's going to be kind of just base level because again,
Hmm.
usually there are some debts. Do the same scenario, 750 purchase price, but with 20% down. So now the loan amount's a little bit less and there's no mortgage insurance. You're going to need to make $12,000 a month or 144,000 a year. So again, it's your principal and interest, your taxes, insurance, everything on that one is 5587.
Okay.
So again, it's just a little under double what your or half what your income is. But check
Okay.
this out. So I changed it up a little bit and did the same purchase price with 5% down and then also with 20% down. But I put in $600 a month of debts because that's going to be a little more realistic for
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
everybody's working with. And even 600 a month is could be
Pretty
low,
pretty low.
car
Yeah.
payment, student loan, credit card, like it adds up quickly. But okay, so for the first one, you had to make $14,000 with 5% down. Now with $600 a month, you need to make $15,000 per month. So it's not a straight transition or translation to add $600 in debt. Now we need to add an additional $600 a month because it's all a ratio. It's
Hmm.
not just straight across the board. So you essentially, in this case, you need to make an extra $1,000 a month to be able to afford your $600 a month. So then in the 20% down, this is probably like because there's no graphs or anything on the screen, is
Yeah.
probably really confusing to keep up with. So I apologize. But 20% down with $600 a month in debt, you'd need to make $13,000 a month.
Okay. Okay.
So again, double. You could, if you really wanted to be very, very simple with it, there's online mortgage calculators that you can use. You kind of have to know some of the specifics to put in there. But again, if you can figure out what your income is, your gross income, and then divide it by 2, and then maybe shave off an extra $1,000, that's what your max payment should be.
Okay.
That could tell you more or less what you're going to be able to afford.
Nice. Or
Yeah.
you can talk to a lender and have it done too.
That's probably
Right.
the best way to do it. Because most of the time they're like, oh yeah, I ran some numbers and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh shoot. Okay. Well, yeah, that 800,000 that you thought you could qualify for is now
for
350.
sure.
But
Man, it's like Redfin and Zillows are the worst with that
yeah,
because they're always like, "Oh yeah, I put the thing into Zillow and they said I could afford this." It's like,
right.
okay, let's dive a little deeper into this.
Yes.
Like, just see if you can. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. So
um,
I'll have to do something after this where I can put it on the screen. So that some of that stuff can be kind of a little more visual, because I know it's probably kind of hard to track it all. But yeah, you got to
yeah,
make, I'd say if you make $150,000 a year, you can probably afford more or less the home that you want
yeah.
ish. But
You need to do some more clickbait videos, it sounds like, because you need to
I
get
do.
people like saying, how much can I
Yes.
afford, or how much do I need to make to afford the house of my dreams?
I
But
know. I do. I do.
I'll
I
start doing
just,
the NAR ones. You start doing
right.
how much money do I need to
We'll
make?
come back and see if we have any more followers in a month.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I'll probably lose
Well,
followers. Like, this
uh,
guy sucks.
I know. Well, thank you, man. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. I think they're cool to see because it kind of gives people a lot of people don't want to get into the nitty gritty of like,
Right.
okay, let me run my stuff. It's like just tell me kind of cool, like a cool number of like to get
Yeah.
home X, how much do I need to make a year? Just kind of
Right.
it's kind of a cool thing to go by. So
Keep it
yeah,
simple. I do like
that's
it.
it. That's what you should do. I would watch
Okay.
that and like your video if you did.
You would?
So yes, yes.
Oh,
I might
well,
actually
okay, I'll
comment
do
on
it.
it too. So
Well, if you can comment on it, I might do it. I might do multiple
change those
scenarios.
algorithms,
Yeah.
change those
Right.
algorithms. But well, thank you, man. That's
Awesome.
good information to have. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, you too,
And
man.
until next week, we are almost there. We have taken way too long with the Venture podcast, but we are almost
Yeah.
there. We're right in the final production stages of getting those videos out. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun. That'll be cool to kind of get deeper into and kind of do some more interviews coming up next week. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we will talk more about it, but thank you, man,
Love
and
it.
have a good rest of your week.
Awesome. You too. We'll talk to you
Okay.
later.